Now, as we've got the structural welding finished on this Dolomite restoration, it's time to be focusing on the last of the cosmetic welding. First job is going to be this hole that's corroded in the windscreen surround. I've got the black rust killer on. I've got some paint on it as well because I wanted to see how bad the pitting was on this section and whether I have to do anything with it. So we'll decide on that in a minute. The other thing I want to focus on is this front wing. The panel gap, as you can see, is not good. It comes out here, it's acceptable there, and then it comes out here again, none of which really is good enough for me. The difficulty I have with these is that they are kind of, the position is set from the factory. Let's see if I can video this without getting in the way of my own torch. So here we go. Inside the wing, there's a panel with a 90-degree return lip on the body. There's another projecting panel from the inner wing with a 90-degree lip, and the two lips mate up. So the position is entirely fixed by that. Now, what I'd hoped is that I could clamp the mating joint to make sure it stays sound, and then just bend the joining panels to get them to allow the wing to come in. So I'm going to give that a try first, and if it all goes to worms, because I can't get to the other side, the door is completely in the way. There's just, see here, I've got the door open and there's just no way of getting to them, and of course I need the door as a reference point for the alignment, so I can't just take the door off to do the work. So as I say, I'm going to try and see if I can panel beat these inner panels to shape to bring the wing in. If not, I'm going to have to cut and overlap the panels and then weld them when they're in a acceptable position. So we'll have a look at that once we've done the windscreen. So the first thing was just to put a little sheet of metal in there to protect the masking and the dashboard behind it from any spattering we might get from the welding. The next job is going to be to use the various grinders to finish cutting this back to bare metal. It's a little bit noisy, but with a bit of judicious use. I'm quite confident I can see the full extent of the rust. Now I've got to try and cut this patch out and then make a replacement piece to go in there. So now that it's all cleaned of the loose rust and the paint protection that I've put onto it, I can see the section that I'm going to cut out. So I've marked it, going to cut that out. I've got lots of bits of steel that I've used the ends of, if you like, and these are nominally offcuts, but I have a bucket with offcuts in. I'm going to shape this to be the right shape for that before I cut anything out, because it makes shaping it much more easy. And then I can cut this section out to match and simply weld the replacement panel in. So with some judicious use of my mini cutter up against the ends here, I'm not going to fire it up for you because it's too noisy and we all know how these things sound. But anyway, yeah, by basically sliding it forwards and backwards over the ends, I've got the hull, literally the whole hull, nice and rectangular. So I'm just going to spray some Brunox down inside here. That's the anti-rust epoxy that I've been using all the way through, and then while that's going off, I'm just going to finish shaping the length and width of this replacement section so that it's a really good fit. And then, as with all the other panels, we can tack it to start with and then get it welded in, get the welds ground smooth and get it weather protected and painted just like the rest of the windscreen surround. So using my magnet to make sure it doesn't disappear into the gloomy depths inside there, I can start to get this lined up. 3 edges are good. You can see here where I've marked now the outside of the hole, both sides here and here. So I'm going to transfer those markings onto the bit of steel, cut the bit of steel. Hopefully that will drop in, but we can just feather it if necessary with the grinding tool, and then once it's a really good fit in there, then we can go with the tack welding, and then obviously carry on from there once the basic piece is nicely retained in the car. And then, as with every piece that I fit where we can't see the back, I spray it with zinc primer first to try and stop any from rust from ever coming back. You can see on the other side I've still got my inwards direction marked, so we'll just let that go off while we set up the welder, and then we're ready to weld that in to the hull. So that's got the first tack done. Now I'm just going to work along the back edge, making sure that I bend the panel down to suit. I've done this deliberately so that the curvature is slightly tighter, because it's very easy to push down on it to get it into position. So yeah, gonna work my way along here at the back with a couple of tacks, making sure this is pushed down, and we'll make sure the front is good too, and then we're ready to finish up the welding. So there we go, got it tacked into place. I'm going to do my usual thing and halve all the gaps everywhere continuously with the airline as well, to make sure it doesn't get too hot there. So yeah, just keep halving the gaps until there's no more gaps, and then we're ready just to grind it smooth and protect it. So there we go, that's the section welded in with the welds ground back. Just going to put some Brunox onto it as usual to try and stop any rust that might try and creep back from wherever. Then after the Brunox has dried, I can flat that back, use the zinc primer, then a bit of colour, and we're ready to start moving on to sorting out the wing panel gaps. So here you can see that the Brunox is already turning the metal on the repaired area purple. It'll go black where it discovers any remaining traces of rust. Once that's gone off nicely overnight, I can just touch the surface with very fine emery cloth, and then I can use the zinc primer, then some proper primer and a bit of colour, and then we're back to being able to mask up the windscreen surround properly the way we have done with the doors, to make sure that as we press on we don't get any contamination inside.